You're listening to That's Pretty Dark,
the podcast where we talk about all of the entertainment that scared us as children
and still haunts us as adults. So grab your flashlight and join us as we take a frightfully nostalgic look over our shoulders
and under our beds
and in our closets.
And together we'll realize, well, that's pretty dark.
Pretty dark.
Oh my god. I did not expect that at all. Christian we said, are we, because we've been having a whole conversation, and Christian just said, are you ready to begin? And I said I was. And then he held up 2 Furbies.
Not one,
but
2 Furbies. And you know what the scariest thing is about these Furbies?
What is the scariest thing? Please tell me.
We had 3 of them.
Ew.
So where's the third? If I have...
Yeah, 3 siblings, 3 Furbies.
Because it was me and my 2 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
If I have these 2, where's the third one?
I genuinely hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Hate it a lot. We had 2, and they're both gone. Lost to time and goodwill, I'm pretty sure. But
I'm going to record just like this with them right here.
He has the Furbies on either side of his head.
I should have put batteries
No,
in
you
these. That would have
shouldn't.
been so funny.
Nope, it's fine. If you haven't figured it out yet, That's Pretty Dark.
Yeah.
I'm Kaylin, I think.
I am Christian, I think.
And we're here to talk with you a very special Christmas collective WTF, all about the history and lore around everyone's favorite terrifying 90s toy.
The freaking Furby.
The Furby. I am personally, like, you guys, hopefully you're listening to this on Christmas because it's going to release on Christmas.
Sure is.
But we're recording it a little bit ahead of time. So I'm sitting in my office right now surrounded by Christmas presents.
Mm-hmm.
I feel as though I'm in Santa's workshop right now.
And one of those is for me.
One of them is, yeah. He can even see it. I teased it, so it's like in my frame.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know what's in the box. It's not a Furby. I can tell you that much. Clearly, you don't need one. You have all the Furbies in this scenario.
I've got these too.
Before I get into like the objective history of the Furby craze as a whole, I thought I would indulge in some subjective stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think like you and I are at pretty much just the right age to like really remember the craze of the Furby, but also having been just young enough for them to like completely fascinate us.
Yeah.
Like we're just in that sweet spot, I think. Furby came onto the scene in the fall of 1998, just before Christmas shopping season, and quickly became a frenzy. Yeah. It was the must-have toy of 1998 and 1999, I'm pretty sure. And I vividly remember this happening. Mm-hmm. There were constant commercials on TV. Everyone agreed, like, you have to have a Furby. It was a huge deal at the time. Yeah. And honestly, I can't recall for sure if we got ours in 1998 or 1999. Don't remember. Mm-hmm. But what I do remember is that everywhere near us, like all the toy stores, all the chains were sold out for like months, and you couldn't find Furbies on the shelves at the time. Mm. And my sister and I had hoped to receive them from Santa, and I remember that we didn't. And my dad had an aunt that would travel. So it was like a novelty to like see her and like hear about going places, you know? Yeah. And so she actually brought us back Furbies. And I don't remember where she brought them from, but I still do remember like the night that she brought them back with her on the plane and like traveled into town, and like the excitement of knowing I was going to have my own Furby finally. I still remember that like giddy excitement. And I also, like, I don't know if this was true for you, but I remember feeling like it cost $1 million. Like, it was just, it seemed so expensive. And I felt like I needed to be very careful with it and protect it with my life. And I laughed when I was researching for this episode because I checked the original MSRP of the Furby, a whopping $35.
Well, your parents probably made you feel that way.
Probably so, but also just any like tech at the time felt that way. Yeah. For sure. For me anyway. I had all like the spy toys and like all the techie type toys, and most of them were super cheap, but I felt like they were real expensive.
Yeah. You either had toys that were no batteries or toys that were batteries.
That's true. That's true. And if you didn't have your fair share of AA and AAA batteries on Christmas morning, it was a tough time in the house.
It was devastating, for sure.
Oh, man.
First world problems.
But yeah, I mean, in 90s kid money, like $35 was a lot.
So many Slurpees.
And like, if you count for inflation when they came out, that's still like $50 to $60.
Yeah.
So it's not like nothing, especially for kids at our
You
age.
buy so many Twix with that.
Oh, so many.
Mm-hmm.
So many. And Snickers, you know,
Mhm.
and popsicles and ice cream from the ice cream man.
Oh, man, the ice cream truck. Oh, my gosh.
That's what I was spending my cash on at the time.
Talk about price gouging.
Oh, also very true.
Mofo.
And yeah, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast a couple times before, but I was a big animal person, still am. But I mean, as a kid, I was like the animal person. And other than having fish and hermit crabs, and we had a couple of hamsters when I was like a preteen. But other than that, I wasn't really allowed to have a pet until I was a lot older. We didn't get a dog until much later in my life.
Yeah.
And I think in part because of that, any of the like electronic animal pet toys,
Mm-hmm.
because this was not the only one, those were my absolute lifeblood.
Yeah.
They were the best thing that ever happened to me. The Tamagotchi, for example, love Tamagotchi. I don't know if you remember, he's lovingly examining his Furby right now, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not.
And that's not a
It's
euphemism.
not love.
I don't know what you're looking at that thing, but you
I'm
are.
just looking at it.
He's holding it up and examining it as I'm talking.
I think mine was the gray one.
You can't remember? I remember what mine looked like.
I thought mine was the gray and white one, and then I think my sister said that was hers. So I don't really know which one's mine.
I had like an actual
Maybe
gray
I'll claim
one.
the all black one.
To me, yours looks like so to describe for you, one is all black and one looks like skunk or tuxedo or penguin. It's like a black and white combo.
Yeah.
I had the one that was all gray.
See, there was a gray one. I thought that was mine, but it may have not been.
I had the one that was all gray. I was in a purple box. But yes, Tamagotchi. Did you have Tamagotchi?
I did.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I left mine in a hotel room in Los Angeles.
That is so devastating.
I was about 7 years old. Yep. Mhm.
No wonder you are the way you are.
Yeah, I'm.
This
pretty
is your
screwed
origin
up.
story.
Yep.
Wow, Tamagotchi. I'm so sorry, Tamagotchi.
It's forever starving.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Poochie?
Poochie.
Poochie.
Don't know what Poochie is.
It was
Nope.
a electronic dog toy that would like hold a bone and
Oh
stuff.
yeah. No, we didn't have that.
Oh, we had them. We had them.
No, I didn't want that.
And do you remember the dog toys? I'm going to speak to a very specific like group. Yes, he's doing emotion. So
Mhm.
the dog toys that had a remote and a cord attached to them, it was
Yep.
like a
I
leash.
remember those commercials.
But you could press the button and they would walk and they would bark.
Yep.
And it was 2 buttons on a little control.
Yep.
My sister and I killed the batteries on like tons of those.
I'm
We
sure
had
you
them
did.
constantly.
I always thought that was stupid.
I loved them because I couldn't have a dog. So you know what? We pretended to be dogs. My sister and I took turns.
Yeah, I would pretend to be a monkey.
You wanted to have a monkey?
No, I would just pretend to be a monkey.
Okay. Different reasons.
I mean, I'm sure I still want a monkey now.
No, you
but-
don't.
well, actually, I
You don't
There
want a
are
monkey. No.
No, I don't want a
Mm-mm.
monkey.
Have you ever
They're a lot
watched any of the
of work.
behind the scenes stuff from Friends? They talk about how difficult it was to work with Marcel.
I've seen Dunstan checks in.
Oh, well, there's that too, I guess.
They're trouble. I don't want a monkey.
Anyway,
I do want a dog though.
yeah, dogs are still good. Speaking of which, do you remember Fur Real Friends?
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw those commercials. Me and my sister had
yeah.
those. That was like the pinnacle of
Oh yeah.
existence, right? To have a fur real friend.
Fur.
Exactly. And then later, Nintendogs.
Nintendogs?
Yeah.
No.
You didn't have it? Do you remember it? No.
No.
It was a game for I believe we were on to the DS at that point, but it may have been for like the Game Boy SP. I was aging out of my Game Boy days right around the time the DS came out. So I don't remember which system it was for.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I did love the game because you got to take care of your own dogs. I was absolutely captivated. And that's like not even touching on my whole Neopets phase. That was,
I didn't do Neopets.
Oh God, that was like my entire introduction to online communities and HTML. And yeah, I owe a lot of who I am to Neopets.
Interesting.
Just another virtual pet moment. But please, God, interrupt me. What was your Furby origin story, Christian?
You know how we talk about all the time how we've blocked out certain aspects of our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those things that it just sort of one day I didn't have a Furby and the next I did.
Oh, wow. So there was no like anticipation.
I remember it being a thing. I remember wanting one and I remember having one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I can vaguely remember that Christmas where we all got one.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't rich by any means. My dad worked all the time. And it's like he worked all the time and we still had no money.
Yeah.
I don't know how we were able to have each of us Furbies, but we all got Furbies at the same time for the same Christmas, I think.
Right.
And so
yeah.
we wanted one, we got one. That was it. And then we hated them. You know,
Immediately.
like,
There was no like honeymoon period.
you get it, you play with it, you realize it sucks.
I mean, I loved mine for a while.
It was cool for like a day or two.
I don't know. I would have to ask my family like how long I really played with the Furby.
Again, I thought mine was the gray one, yet I ended up with these two black ones.
Yeah, those are probably your sisters that were in a different box, and who knows where yours is.
But I have all the toys from my childhood. They're all in a box across the room.
I do not.
The gray one's missing. He's plotting my demise currently.
That's what it is. But he's missing for that reason.
He's been building his army. But yeah, I mean, I don't have these visceral memories of it, but I remember them being crazy popular, but having one and being like, you guys suck.
Yeah. Most people that I knew, I feel like were getting them too.
But I think I got tired of it fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I remember that.
You talk about animals and wanting animatronic toys, but like, what is it?
I mean, it's an animal.
Is it a bird?
I kind of thought of it as a bird-like creature.
It's a fuzzy bird.
It's almost it'll parrot what you say, so, or it allegedly would parrot what you say. But I'll get to some of that. I'll get to that.
That's crazy.
I've told you about all of my electronic pets that I had, but none of the toy pets of the time had quite the same sparkle as the Furby did.
Right.
But I'll back up for a second and I'll explain like how the gibberish speaking creatures came into existence.
The Furbish.
So like many parents and children that were tormented by these Furbies, I was interested to learn who was responsible.
Yeah.
Like, who do we hold responsible for this creature?
Seriously, please tell me.
And so I found this really fascinating article on Bustle. And the blame, or credit, if you want to call it credit, belongs to a toy-making team of 3 people. They were David Hampton, Caleb Chung, and Richard C. Levy.
Screw all of you.
No, it's a whole story that we wouldn't have otherwise. And it's a memory that we wouldn't have otherwise.
It's a Christmas miracle.
But I'll tell you a little bit about these folks, because they didn't ring any bells for me. The names didn't anyway. So David Hampton, he is regarded as the father of the Furby.
What a legacy.
He grew up as an electronics whiz in Michigan, and he was always like fixing radios and things for his neighbors. And he got his first job in a television repair shop when he was 13 years old.
Wow.
So he graduated high school in 1970, and then he immediately enlisted in the Navy. And so he continued his electronic studies in the Navy. And during his 8 years that he served in the Navy, he picked up a smattering of languages. Languages including Japanese, Thai, Chinese, and Hebrew. And that's kind of important.
So he just picked up languages?
Yeah, he just picked them up. He was real good at everything.
I've been studying French for 10 years and I still can't get a grasp on it.
Some of us just don't have it.
Picked up languages in his 20s or 30s or whatever?
Yes. David went on to hold some jobs in Silicon Valley. He briefly worked for Mattel. Okay. And then that's where he actually met our second member of this team, Caleb Chung. So unlike Hampton, Chung had no formal electronics training. Apparently in interviews, he said that he didn't necessarily have the same education, but his family moved around a lot and they were pretty low income. So he feels like this helped him to be more resourceful and it helped him learn to think more creatively, is what he said in interviews before.
Sure.
So thank you, Caleb Chung, for all of your...
thanks for chunging it.
The final piece of this puzzle came together when the team found their business partner in Richard Levy, and then they brought him on to help with their licensing. Because as Christian and I have figured out the hard way, any creative pursuit also requires a lot of business sense if you really want to make it work.
An absurd amount.
Yeah, more than we have or want, but apparently it's really necessary.
Yeah, so, you're like, I'll be creative and make all this really great stuff and people will like love me for it or whatever.
Doesn't exactly work that way. It
doesn't happen that way.
No.
You need that middleman.
See, I'm not a Roy Disney. I'm definitely more of a Walt than a Roy. I think I have elements of both, but like, I just don't have the like numbers. I'm not a numbers person.
Yeah, I'm not nearly as good at anything as either of them, but you know, if you want a really like real world example of that, just watch the Social Network movie.
Oh,
about
true.
how they needed all the money
very
and
true.
the middleman and everybody just to make it happen.
Very, very true.
Also, screw Facebook or Meta.
Oh, come on, Zuck.
Zuck, you suck.
So this Richard Levy guy, he had a degree in television and cinematography, and he actually promoted a lot of films for Paramount when he was early in his career. And then he founded his own production company, which focused on TV shows and documentaries. And so this next part, very interesting to me. I didn't really know about it, but he migrated to work as an architect for the WorldNet satellite network. I literally had no idea this existed. So that shows my like American bubble stupidity. But apparently this is a satellite television channel broadcast out of DC, and it's aimed at audiences outside of the US. But apparently the mission of this network is to show a balanced and accurate picture of American society, policies, and people. So there's this whole network dedicated to this cause and promoting normal life in the US, I guess.
So it's totally fabricated and it's lies
Pretty
spread
much.
to the rest
That's
of
what
the
it seems
world
like.
to make the rest of the world think this is what the American way is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? I don't know what exactly it looked like specifically. If you've ever seen this show or this network, if shows on this network, there are many shows on one network, but if you've ever seen it, let us know.
Yeah, let us know what's on that.
I mean,
I'm
I've
gonna
spent
look that
time
up.
outside of the US, but I like it's interesting to me just the fact that every other country that I've been to focuses on world news, and like every channel is world news, whereas in America, it's just American
news. Yeah.
WorldNet has since merged with another network, and so it's hard to like know exactly what type of content was being broadcast, but they did have content in many world languages, and apparently they included several dramatic comedy shows that kind of focused on English language skills. So they were helping people learn English.
I think the fact that the average American isn't aware of this
I know.
tells
Isn't
you
that crazy?
that it's not an accurate depiction of our normal
Yeah,
lives.
it's probably true. I'm sure there were, I mean, obviously, Richard was working on it. Apparently there were a lot of Americans, working on
Well,
it.
this guy also made the Furby, so like I don't trust him.
Oh, man.
I don't like his opinions. I don't care about his worldview.
I think it's very important, personally. I care a lot. So the inspiration behind Furby was indeed the Tamagotchi, which I have often assumed.
Sure, that makes sense.
So these guys decided to improve upon the Tamagotchis. They felt one flaw, like they felt like it had one flaw, and that was that you couldn't pet it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't interact with it in the way that you can interact with an animal or a pet that you have.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like that put distance between the user and the toy. And so they wanted to kind of make a version that you could pet.
Interesting.
So they got to work together, and obviously things clicked for them. They credit Levy with securing a licensing deal with Tiger Electronics, and this happened in 1997. And soon after this, Tiger was acquired by Hasbro, making the product development a lot easier than it was previously. So they had a lot more resources, more funds, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So this licensing thing really helped them get in the door at the right places to get the Furby, mass produced.
Yeah.
In October of 1998, the Furby made its debut in New York City's FAO Schwarz toy store, which I've been to.
I've been there.
It's really cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
And then the store had 35,000 Furbies backordered by the end of that week.
Wow.
And I'll give you some more stats because, I love stats.
Oh, me too.
According to Time magazine, in 1998, 1.8 million Furbies were sold. And that's 1.8 million, keep in mind, in the last few months of 1998, because it didn't debut until October.
Just for that
So
Christmas
that's
season.
1.8 million in October, November, and December of 1998.
Oh my God. How do they make that many that fast?
Right? Hasbro. That's all I got. I don't know.
Hasbro. Jeez.
And by 1999, there was an astronomical increase in that number, and they were able to sell 14 million.
Oh my Lord. Wait, by when?
The next year.
Just for the whole year?
Mhm.
But still.
So by the end of the first
That hurts
three, I know. By the end of the first 3 years, 40 million
Oh my
Furbies
God.
had been sold, according to Gizmodo.
And we're just trying to get like a consistent number of people to listen to our podcast.
Right?
Just
Isn't
every
it
week.
wild?
My God.
Well, we don't have anything as enticing as the Furby, I guess. But now we do.
So wait, you're telling me it's because our audience can't pet us on a regular basis? They can't feed us and they can't
Yes.
sing to us and teach us things
Apparently-
and touch us?
Apparently, if they could do
We can
that,
fix that.
we sure can. Petting zoo
We can
time.
go on tour right now.
Petting zoo time.
A two-way petting zoo.
You pet the animals, they pet you back. That's a reference to The Office, if you're
That's The
unfamiliar.
Office. That's
We're
The
not
Office.
just insane laughing about a two-way petting zoo. We kind of are,
We're not
but
that funny.
yeah, we're not that funny.
We're not very clever.
So it wasn't just the Furby's cute face and fluffy hair that made them a hit, though. The toys could talk,
Mhm.
and more than talk, as you just mentioned, the Furbies could learn. In a 2014 interview, Caleb Chung said that Furby was a big hit because it on purpose let you believe that it was alive. And all the electronic toys up until then were like, you know, squeeze my hand, I'll count to 10, like very self-centered, like no interaction really.
Yeah.
So the Furby was able to become human in a way that other products weren't.
Right.
It became human and present, and people thought that that was scary and weird and freaky because it encroaches on being human. This is what Chung said about it. Caleb Chung, one of the creators. I'll get to some of it, but we believe it was a lot more advanced than it was simply because of the boom that it had, the reach that it had. That's really where a lot of it comes from. Yeah. The fact that every American household could have one.
We just spent so much time watching like Terminator movies, and all of a sudden there's this little plastic robot thing in your house that's basically like a fuzzy little Tamagotchi version of a Terminator.
Yeah, pretty much. Just the fact that that technology entered everybody's home that quickly was pretty unprecedented, I think.
Yeah.
And like Caleb Chung was mentioning, Furby kind of walks that uncanny valley line. You know, uncanny valley references like something that's not quite human, but almost.
Yeah.
That phenomenon has always freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Think of like, I'm trying to think of examples of the uncanny valley, but like the Polar Express, where it's like the faces are, it's like too close, but still not close enough. And Furby kind of emulates that as well. It doesn't look human, but it sometimes acts like it.
Yeah.
Uncanny valley is defined as the relationship between the human-like appearance of an object and the emotional response that it evokes in a person. And people feel often a sense of unease or even repulsion in response to beings that are like inhuman but highly realistic.
Yeah, I got that feeling watching Westworld.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes things are
like,
ultra real and not real at the same time.
Yeah.
And I always get kind of nauseous.
Yeah.
When it's like,
disturbing.
I don't
really
like
is.
it.
Because we're still trying to answer questions about what makes us human.
That's true.
What makes us alive? What makes us conscious and aware?
That's true. If
Why are
you've
we
been
unique?
on our journey with the recent episodes about the green ribbon,
Right.
We've been on that kick for a little while. It's that, where's the line? And
Where's the line?
the uncanny valley really does a lot to explain why things that are too close really bother us.
It's creepy.
And this uncanny ability to feel emotionally human is probably why the Furby earned the reputation that it did in the following years after its release for being a little bit scary, as you mentioned a couple times, and as I've seen on camera tonight.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. And I appreciate this because everything I've seen online about people who are like, I'm going to do an episode of my YouTube channel on the Furby.
Yeah.
They don't really like, they're not doing this kind of research and this deep dive. So I appreciate this a lot.
I mean, I was interested in just seeing like where it came from. Yeah.
What do you think it is that makes these like, you have to take care of this thing and feed it and raise it? What do you think it is that draws children to that? Because like you see like
biology.
Well, children like love the idea of like a baby. Right. You know, my nephew.
Yeah.
You know, getting used to the idea that my sister's having another kid. So it's like,
yeah, you have that whole
new
process.
baby.
I think the like evolutionary biology of our like species, like we want to perpetuate life. So therefore, most young people or children, babies, and societally women, historically, which again, misogyny, and you can
give little boys a football and give little girls a baby doll.
Give the little boys a baby doll too, because they're gonna have to take care of kids one day as well, more than likely. Because guess what? They're making them too, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just the woman that is making the child, and it's not just the woman's responsibility. The man also makes the child and therefore should also be held responsible. But I digress.
This doesn't seem right. This is interesting.
Yeah, I guess it's just like that biological urge to care for something. And I certainly had it at a very like intense level as a kid.
I think I was intrigued by it, and as soon as I had it, I was like, woof. That's boring.
Yeah.
Can I play video games now?
It's a lot. But then, there was me, and I was playing video games where I was also doing the same thing. So
yeah. So I still have on these two Furbies here, the original tags are still attached. I'm going to read.
Please read to me.
So I didn't know if this would come up, so I saved it. But this is what the tag says that comes with these Furbies, and they're from 1998.
Okay.
It says 98.
These are the original. You should really look into.
I might be able to sell these for some money. Yeah. Some Furbies are gray, and others are white. Some Furbies are black as the night. Some have tails, and others have manes. But each Furby has its own name. So no two Furbies are the same. Small of stature, big of heart. All Furbies are so very smart. They speak a language all their own, for Furbish is a language quite unknown.
Oh.
Furbies need May, love,
Mm-hmm.
and May-la, hugs, and they wee, sing, and Lulu, joke. They play Furby Says
Mm-hmm.
and hide and seek.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
And into the future, they can peek. So, when you take a Furby home, you will never be alone.
Oh, my God.
The more you play, the more they do. Furby will keep amazing you. Also known as terrifying.
Yeah, for
you.
real. I didn't know how that was going to end. I'm sure I read that as a child.
I mean, it's very ominous.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
They'll keep amazing you if you let them.
They'll keep amazing you. So are we in the reading scary stories part
Yeah,
of this episode?
so-
Are we here now?
Now that you guys know a little bit about the background of a Furby, I thought it would be fun to, we said, we kind of asked the listener base and the internet to share some darker Furby stories. So hope we don't offend. This is all in good fun for Christmas and remembering our darker moments of childhood.
And if it offends you, get over it.
Oh no. Okay. So to get into some of this, I did have a couple from my friends, so I want to shout them out real quick and share their stories.
Yeah.
So my friend Caitlin, she's been involved in a lot of my development of the podcast and sharing ideas, so we appreciate Caitlin.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. Thanks for sending your story as well. Caitlin said that she found her Furby in a box of old toys a few years back, and she said she was pretty excited to turn it on and see what it remembered. I would be too if I found a Furby. I'd be cool, I want to know what it remembers. But at the time, she happened to drop it. And she said it absolutely freaked out. It was making a mechanical screeching noise. Its eyes are blinking. Its mouth is opening.
Yeah, they scream.
Wiggling, ears, feet, everything.
Yeah.
And she said that it scared her so much that she tore out the batteries right away and she just threw it away.
Yeah.
And I can't say I blame her. That's pretty spooky. Pretty dark. Just the screech, the scream, pain.
Yeah, I've read
I
that.
don't know.
Apparently, if they fall a certain distance, they begin to scream, and they don't stop screaming until you reset them.
That makes me ill.
Isn't that crazy? It just doesn't.
Oh, I hate that.
It doesn't stop because also there's no off button.
Oh no, that's another,
The only way to turn them
Should've
off is
mentioned
either
that.
to take out the batteries,
Yep.
which we know doesn't always work,
Right. It will eventually, but not
or you
immediately.
have to hit the reset button.
Or yes, the reset button. And then you lose all your progress you've made with your Furby,
Right.
potentially.
Right.
So
It's too bad
Whew.
people don't come with a reset
It's
button.
so
I would
crazy.
hit mine every
They've-
other day.
they fall a certain distance and they don't stop screaming.
They don't.
Neither do I, ladies and gentlemen, thems and theys. I also probably wouldn't stop screaming.
No.
So I also have a friend from high school, my friend Amber. Shout out to Amber. She's awesome. A lot of my pop culture love
Sup, Amber?
comes from, most of my Amber, my cousin.
Yeah, this isn't the Amber I know.
That's true. Maybe the one Amber that you don't know. Amber, I feel like a lot of my pop culture love in junior high and high school, we shared a lot of that. And so she really encouraged that in me. And I didn't have a lot of friends that liked the same things that I did. So
Yeah.
shout out to Amber. Very much appreciated that because I feel like it's a lot of what made me the weird person that I am.
Thank God.
And I appreciate that. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank Amber.
Amber, I owe you some money or something.
Right? And she shared that when she was young, her Furby would often like talk to her from her closet in the middle of the night.
Oh, yeah.
It would just begin speaking to her, which I'm pretty sure I have memories of that too, but I've blocked them all out.
Yeah, mine did too. Yeah, for
She
sure.
said eventually, like, this got so troublesome, like it bothered her so much that she took her Furby up to the attic
Okay.
and left it there.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say I blame her, because if it's talking to you in the middle of the night, just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Another friend of mine, her name's also Kaylin, but spelled differently. Kaylin 3, long story, but she's a good friend of mine from many years back as well. She made me laugh too. She said that hers apparently freaked her dad out so badly that eventually he took the batteries out and he told her that it was broken. He just took it away. He was like, no.
It's broken.
Which I understand. He's like, yeah, we're not going to
It
do
went
this.
to the Furby farm up north
Yep. He went to the farm.
with all the other Furbies.
He can run and play with all the other Furbies now. He's free.
It's
yes.
free and happy.
I thought that was pretty good.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So, since I've kind of covered the ones from people that I personally know, Do you have any Furby stories from your homework that I asked you to do? Would you like to read one to us?
Oh, I've got like 5.
Hey.
But I won't read all of them.
Hit me.
We're just going to see.
Hit me.
We're going to hope that we don't have the same ones.
That's true.
To begin, I never had a Furby.
Hmm.
Shit was stupid. But my friend had one. She liked it and all, played with it for a few weeks. Then she went to the lake with her family. She accidentally dropped it in the lake. They recovered it, but the electrical bits are dead. She takes it home, throws it in the closet, forgets about it. Life goes on. Fast forward about 2 months or so. I come over to hang out. Suddenly, I ask, "Hey, what happened to your Furby?" She goes into the story, then ends it with, "But yeah, I don't really miss it." And like clockwork, we hear,
"Furby don't need you anymore."
Oh my God.
from the closet. Bricks were shat.
You gotta love Reddit.
Reddit, you never know what you're going to get.
Thanks,
You never know
Reddit,
what
for
you're
some
gonna
of
get.
these stories. It's a good time.
Was that one of yours? No? Yes? No?
No. I think I may have read it, but I don't think I picked it.
They're not all great.
Mine
They're
are
hard.
really, really short.
Okay.
But I will. So I also asked about this phenomenon in like a Furby group online. I went into like a Facebook Furby group. Seemed to be some pretty cool people in there, and they have some pretty cool
Sure.
stories about Furbies. I personally just can't imagine being that dedicated to any one thing. I'm too I'm too ADHD to like have one interest, but some people do, and they can really take those interests to new heights, you could say.
We're only that dedicated to our own like mental health awareness and like
Right, yeah, the
self-care.
things that we're just like angry about.
Staying home on Friday nights recording podcast episodes.
That's what we're doing right now. I've told Christian many
Literally.
a time that like my biggest motivator is honestly spite.
Yeah.
And not in a mean or bad way, but truly, if I really want to get something done, I need to like have some element of spite in my system.
Oh yeah. For sure.
So.
No, I get it.
Whether it's toward myself or someone else, that's,
It's usually
Always up for grabs.
self-spite. Yeah.
yeah.
For sure.
But anyway, so I asked about this phenomenon online. Some people are not fans of the dark Furby stories, so I apologize. But there were interesting stories as well. Some people were sharing stories with me that weren't just super dark or spooky, but that were kind of just unexplainable or uncanny.
Mhm.
One user shared with me that though she always takes the batteries out of her Furbies when she stores them, she once found a spider bitten in half in the beak of one of her Furbies.
Whoa.
Ugh.
That's wild.
I know, the battery was out of it. So who knows what's going on in your house, user. I
That's crazy.
worry a little bit. But at least they're taking care of the spiders for you.
Yeah, that's insane.
And there was this like poignant story that I thought I would share. Somebody said that they bought a used Furby and the previous owner had said that it belonged to his late wife and she got cancer in the early 2000s and then she spent most of her time like in the hospital and she had her Furby with her in the hospital. And this user that shared this with me, they said that that Furby was a lot like quote unquote smarter than the rest of her Furbies.
Mhm.
And so that just made her like aware of how much time someone had spent with it.
Yeah.
And it really made her like sad when she realized like the
Aw.
reason for that. She said it was like the smartest Furby that she'd ever seen. And this is somebody that's collecting them. So
Yeah. Wow.
just knowing that somebody like spent that time. And I mean, this goes back to the primal urge to take care of something. Like I feel like this Furby probably really helped that woman,
Mhm.
coping with her cancer and everything. So
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know.
Man,
Different vibe.
that's heavy.
I know.
Man.
Sorry. What else you got for
Jeez.
me? Hit me with something else.
Yeah, I don't know. Trying to keep it spooky here. I'm a little sad.
I know.
Well, so speaking of like not poignant, but just sort of like hard to explain,
Mhm.
Furby adjacent stories. There's one I read. I wanted to keep it strictly to Furbies that kind of seem to exist or be alive inexplicably, but this one was sort of, out there. This one story I read said this girl was she had over time gotten bored with her Furby, so she like put it on a shelf somewhere like in the basement
Mhm.
and like left it, which was a pretty common trope. Like we put it on a shelf in the basement,
You just,
but she had this nightmare one night that it was just like sobbing alone by itself.
Oh, I
down
hate
in the,
that.
in the
Yeah, I
darkness.
understand. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And then she woke up to her mother packing a suitcase, crying because her mother had died. So she had to leave in the middle of the night
Whoa.
to like go. So her like dream of the Furby
Mhm.
blended into
her reality that she was hearing, probably.
Yeah, her grandmother
Oh
dying
my
and her mother
gosh.
crying about it and like
That's
having to
wild.
leave to go take care of things.
And to
it was
imagine
like-
having that in your memory for like decades.
Well, she said like, I can't look at a Furby without thinking
yeah,
about that.
I
Like,
wouldn't. Yeah, that's
it's part of my development, like
yep.
my psyche.
Very,
It's
very
crazy.
early core memory, as they say.
But why your dream state would go to your Furby that you left somewhere in the dark, just like crying.
I know.
in the
That's
darkness.
super
It's just like,
sad.
Yeah.
Dang, I thought we left some of the sad and heavy stuff behind us in some of the other episodes, but here we are. It's Christmas time, so
Well-
we're determined to feel sad somehow or another.
Christmas ghosts.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's another one from Reddit. I had a Furby that I loved for a few months. Then I turned her off and set her up in my closet. I didn't want to give her away. She sat there in view with her eyes closed for probably 4 years. One day, I opened my closet door. Her eyes opened. She blinked at me. I got rid of her.
Oh my God. Hello. I've been waiting for you.
Yeah, God.
Yep.
Super spooky.
I do have another one from the Furby group that I asked, and I do appreciate that everybody took time. Some people were like very enthusiastic about it. Like I said, some people weren't so thrilled, but a lot of people thought it was really cool. There was a user that mentioned that they visited a KB toy store. You remember KB Toys?
KB Toys?
Oh yeah, we had one in the mall.
No. I don't think so.
But it's a toy store, just like any other. This user said that they were in the KB toy and then they found this Furby that was saying it didn't feel well. It was like sneezing, doing the sick thing that Furbies did.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he pet it and he fed it and he like gave it some attention and trying to get it kind of well again, because I would do the same thing probably if I was in a store. I was like, oh no, and I'd like try to fix it, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he said he was visiting again like a week later or so. And he said that he was mostly alone in the store. And he said that he was at the opposite end of the aisle from where the Furbies were. And he heard a distant, hey. And he said that's something Furbies tend to do when they sense motion. But he said to this day, he's not sure what caused that Furby to respond because there was nobody on that side of the store. There was nobody near that Furby, and there were no shadows or motion or anything that should have indicated to that Furby that there was somebody present.
Right, right.
So he likes to think that this Furby was thanking him for spending time with it and getting it well. It just said, hey.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That is wild.
Ooh.
Because they do have that like motion sensor.
Yeah.
Like,
But he said that because he was, I guess, of the mind that you can explain. And most people in that group, are of the mind that you can explain most things that happen.
mm-hmm.
But he said this was something, that he couldn't quite explain because there was no
Right,
motion
yeah.
that should have triggered the Furby. But it still said, hey.
It's like, what's up, man?
Yeah,
Thanks.
hey.
That's funny.
Pretty good.
That's crazy. Ugh. That stuff is so creepy to me.
I know.
Freaks me
Okay.
out.
So this story is from Reddit user Derpahoo.
Nice.
So they said, in elementary school, I was invited to sleep over at my friend Sally's for her birthday. There were quite a few girls going, and we were told everyone was going to sleep in the family room, and somehow I scored the couch. They said, now Sally loved Furbies, and above the couch was a shelf that was dedicated to Furbies. And there were a shit ton of them, according to this user, in different shapes and sizes and colors on the shelf. And they said the party was okay, and everyone got ready for bed, and that they got comfortable on the couch. And then fast forward a few hours, everyone is dead asleep, and they said they themselves were in a nice deep sleep. But suddenly, the shelf broke, and the shelf, like the wood part of the shelf, fell behind the couch, and the Furbies ran down on her sleeping there on the couch, them sleeping there on the couch. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's a girl because birthday sleepover, it just seemed like a girly thing to do in the 90s.
Yeah.
This person had Furbies in the middle of the night raining down on them. And they said it was activated by whatever the activated Furbies, a movement or sound or whatever. But they all came alive and woke her
They all
up.
fell. So yeah, sure.
Right. And so she was awoken by a horde of Furbies all over her, talking and moving and looking at her.
God, I cannot
And
imagine.
it seems like that would really stick with the person.
Oh, that would be so
Obviously,
traumatizing.
there's, the fact that this shelf broke suddenly is pretty scary. Like that. I've had things fall on me in the middle of the night. I have I've had like a collage that I made over my bed several years ago. Like, I just put a lot of stuff that I love onto one collage because I didn't want to put them on my wall in my apartment. And so I made this giant collage that's basically like what I consider my headboard just above my bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had that fall on me in the middle of the night before. And it's pretty like startling and terrifying just to have like a sudden jolt and something's falling on you.
It's terrible. Yeah.
But I cannot imagine that to happen with Furbies.
A bunch of Furbies.
No,
No, thank
thank
you.
you.
I'm uncomfortable with these two sitting here next to me. And the batteries are out and they're not making any noise.
But they could at any time, and you know that.
They could at any time. Trust me, I know. They've been tucked away in my office here for a few weeks now. And like, I keep waiting. I work in here all day and all night. And I'm just like, when is one of them just going to like speak from
I wish they would,
cabinet?
Honestly. I wish they had. They're going to wait till after this episode is recorded, though, of course.
They're going to wait till it's like, it's unbelievable that I would be like, oh my God, guys, my Furby talked. No one's going to believe me now.
Yeah. What else you got? You got some more stories?
I got some more.
What else you got for me?
So I have 2 more, but I'm only going to read the one because the other one's kind of stupid. I liked the big scare at the end of one of these, but the rest of it's sort of ridiculous. I used to sing Brahms' lullaby to my dog Rascal as it calmed him down while we crate trained him. My Furby was off sitting on one of my bookshelves. One night, I finished getting the dog into the crate, sang to him, petted him until he was settled, and reached up to switch off the light. As the room went dark and I stood to climb in my bed, the Furby's eyes slowly opened, and it sang the lullaby, the beginning of Brahms' lullaby. Its eyes closed, and I stared frozen. The next few seconds were a blur. The dog, Rascal, launched into hysterics. I dove for the crate and fumbled with the latch, grabbed Rascal by the collar, and we ran upstairs to my parents' room, with me screaming, Rascal growling and barking. By the time my parents had been awakened and had staggered into my room, the Furby was in full possession mode.
Oh, no.
Wayloo! Wayloo!
It cried, ears flapping up and down, eyes blinking, mouth opening and closing, making snapping noises each time it shut.
Big Beckett.
Dad grabbed the horrible thing off the shelf and heaved it over the balcony, and it fell and landed with an excruciating crunch.
Wayloo!
It howled from below.
Oh my God.
Then it began to whir, a high-pitched mechanical
Oh, I know that
grinding
sound.
whir.
I know that sound.
As it spasmed and twitched, Mom held me tight and Dad and Rascal headed down the stairs. Rascal seized it, worrying it, trying to break its non-existent spine, and Dad stormed into the garage, returning with a hammer. Between the two of them, they destroyed that Furby, plastic and faux fur scattered across the living room. Horrible. Horrible.
Oh my God. I mean, I guess I can kind of.
So, I mean,
happening.
that one was just creepy to me because it, like, you know, they're only programmed to learn certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought
Exactly.
that it could, like, learn something that you're singing, like a lullaby, and then sing it back to you is pretty creepy.
Yeah, they don't really do that. It was meant to kind of feel like they did because of the things that they taught the Furby.
Yeah.
But all in all, they really didn't parrot things the way that we kind of remember them doing. It was just really good at learning.
Yeah, they were only meant to learn.
quote unquote,
certain
learning
things.
Certain phrases and
It
words.
was all pre-programmed stuff.
Speaking of dads with hammers,
Mm-hmm.
I have one. I don't love it. We don't have to use it necessarily. But speaking of dads with hammers, I have another from a Reddit user, Burns Kid. They said, had 2 Furbies. They were buried in the bottom of the toy box. Sleeping in the dead of night, years after we got them, I hear a deep, slow voice. This is why I picked this one, I think. Deep, slow voice. Because we all know that slow voice of a dying electronic toy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, hell no. Screamed, ran to my parents' room, woke them both up, and had them come into my room to get the monster. So they go digging around the room, and then when they hear it again, the same. Just the fact that it's so slow, that's what I don't like. But more screaming, crying, and they said finally their dad pulled out this half-dead Furby from inside the toy box, and he took it to smash it with a hammer in the garage. And they said that they still had nightmares about it years later.
Sure.
But the fact that the dad, I love that the dad in the 90s, this 90s dad figure in a lot of these stories is like, I'm not going to mess with this. Like, it is the middle of the night. I have to work in 3 hours.
I think those are the most realistic versions. The rest of them are like creepypastas, but like the ones where the dad's just like, nope, I am not dealing with this. I'm destroying this thing.
Yep. I don't know. I feel like as a kid, that was more scary to me, or would have been more scary, because I would have felt like, oh, the parents are scared too, you know? But I don't think that they necessarily, in at least the ones that we read, I feel like the dad, and this is, of course, me entirely putting my own, like, projection into it, but I feel like the dad is just, like, fed up. And then, like, I'm not having my kids screaming and crying all night. I can't do that.
Right. No, I'm with you.
You know, they eliminate the problem.
They just dealt with it.
Yeah.
That's such a 90s dad thing.
I can't really imagine any people that I know with kids, like, taking a hammer to any of their kids' toys right now, but I'm sure if desperate times called for desperate measures, they would.
That's just, like, very poltergeist-esque.
Yeah.
Just the whole, like, nobody has time for this. We're just going to just get rid of this, destroy this thing, and throw it away and move forward with our lives.
I'm sure there are some creepypastas out there where the Furbies come back from the dead, but...
Yeah, no, there were a lot of really unbelievable ones that I skipped over, but...
I don't know. I think some of these are fun, and
they're just fun.
We all
They're
have
fun.
those moments from childhood that stand out in our mind, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to talk about. So.
If you thought these were pretty unbelievable, then, well, just know that these were the selects.
Yeah, this was a select few.
Yeah.
And if you didn't share a story with us, but you would like to, feel free. We'll record it sometime. We'll put it on a Patreon when we get that up and running.
We'll get them out there.
Share it with us.
We'll get them out there. The creepiest thing about Furbies to me, mostly the people who have physically altered the Furbies.
Yes, there are a lot of those.
That's weird.
Yeah, there's a community. Just look it up. I'm not going to comment positive or negative one way or the other, but
like,
do a quick Google of a
the
long
Furbies.
Furby. Yep.
They're interesting to look at. They're enticing visually.
Type that into the Google. See what you think. We'll leave it up to you.
It's very it's Furby centipede-esque. It's very strange to me.
And I understand, like, modifying electronics, and that's, like, a whole thing that, you know, some people do, and I certainly don't have that skill set or that interest, to be frank, but...
Have you seen these?
Oh.
Can you see this?
Oh, no. He's showing me something on the camera. It looks like a Furby. It looks like a spider with a Furby head.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I haven't seen those. So these that Christian's showing me right now, maybe we'll post them at some point. It's a Furby.
Yeah.
It's Furby made into other animals.
It's weird. I don't like
It's almost like Furby taxidermy, if you will.
Oh, God. But they don't die.
They don't die.
It's not even
They don't
dead.
die. They just come back.
It's just Furby plastic surgery.
That's what it is, really.
It is very strange.
And something that's already that deep in the uncanny valley, and then you just elevate it that much. I don't know.
But I mean, you know, beyond body modifications for your Furby friends, you know, do whatever you want. Like, look, whatever gets you by.
Do whatever you need to do. 100%.
Whatever helps you survive
Yes.
this existence. As long as you don't do this to people, we're fine. We're good. Or, you know what? Anything that's alive. Don't do this to any animals.
That's a good...
Don't do this to any people.
Yeah, good rule of
And
thumb.
we're all going to be totally, totally gravy here. But...
Yes.
The thing that I'm gonna have a problem with every time is did you notice the incredible amount of stories involving people skinning
Yes,
Furbies?
I sure did.
That is not okay.
I agree.
You're gonna skin your Furby.
There's some kind of
and cut its
ethical
flesh
dilemma I
off?
have with that.
I don't
like it.
I don't understand you, and you should explain yourself.
I don't either. I don't get it.
So
Oh my God.
I'm not gonna give you an excuse and tell you that that's okay.
We won't give you a pass. Sorry, guys. I'm laughing because, number one, it's pretty late at night. We normally record during the day.
It's super
so
late.
We're really feeling the Furby feels right now. But also the fact that Christian is so dead serious right now. Like, the look on his face. He looks so serious.
Talk about being offended. I'm upset.
He looks upset. And here I am laughing about
Don't
it.
cut the skin off of anything.
Don't. Please. Please, if you take one thing from our show today,
Leave it alone.
just leave it alone. Leave well enough alone, you know?
I'm bothered.
I know you are. That's so much funnier to me. I don't know why. Oh my God. So at this point, I do feel compelled to also mention that there are some folks in the Furby community. These are people that collect and modify and resell Furbies sometimes. And I, from my brief dive into this world, have realized that some of these folks are pretty offended at this kind of lore and these kind of stories. So apologies if you're listening from one of those groups. I don't mean to offend. I understand that this is your hobby and that is perfectly fine, just like this podcast is my hobby. I just feel like there are some folks that have a pretty intense chip on their shoulder from years of Furbies being made fun of and made out to be possessed or like frightening. We don't mean offense, but we can't help the fact that we did feel fear and we were young children. And many of the stories, I understand, can be explained away by like faulty wiring or other mechanical issues, but it doesn't change the terror that we felt at the time or our families felt. And I think Furbies have earned their place in that lore of the 90s, for better or worse. I know many of the like stories that were like, mine kept talking without the batteries. Those stories are really popular. And I will let you know right now that we've discussed some of them, apparently this was true and this absolutely could happen.
They were designed that way, right?
Well, not necessarily on purpose, but some models were able to retain like a small amount of like power even after the batteries had been removed. And this personally, when I realized that, it explained a lot for me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that makes sense. And there were also like widespread rumors in like 1998 and 2000 that the National Security Agency, the NSA, banned Furbies from their property. And there is some truth to this. Furbies are programmed to start out speaking like some nonsense phrases and then slowly replace them with like simple English phrases. And there was initial concern that they could listen in on confidential conversations and then parrot them. And so that led to this kind of panic in security agencies. And it did lead the NSA to ban Furbies in their entire agency. And they actually ended up lifting the ban after several months. Tiger Electronics, they got together, explained how Furbies worked, and they did end up lifting the ban.
It's wild.
So, I mean, but the fact that it happened at all, it's like it was such a new technology, and just nobody knew how it worked.
Right.
And so that it was enough to cause a little bit of concern in agencies like that.
Sure. Intelligence is important.
Yeah. You got to protect some things.
Yeah, you got to.
So the Furby was actually updated around 2005, and that model didn't sell very well. The original line, including this one, kind of lost steam around 2007. And this is around the time when I never had them. I had aged out at this point, but Webkins were popular. Webkins are a toy that you buy a little plushie and then they come with a code and you connect with them online. So this was kind of the move to the online world. And so Furbies kind of fell out of the fad. I never, like I said, I never really explored the world of Webkins, but apparently they were really popular.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Apparently now Furbies are still being sold, and that's news to me. So they've had lots of, or at least a few like new designs since 2012. So the 2012 version, it came with a ton of new like technical capabilities. And at me as a kid, I would have lost my mind. Reading about some of this stuff, I was like, I would have loved that as a kid. So the original Furby, this is another source of a lot of the lore and stories, right? The original Furby was able to like adjust its personality slightly, depending on how it was treated or how it was raised. But you would usually still land on like one personality of a Furby that was calm and friendly and nice. The 2012 Furby incorporated more of like a Tamagotchi feature. So it could develop one of several personalities depending on how you treated it when it was growing up. And I would have been totally fascinated by that as a child, but I, as an adult, have seen videos of like these shifts happening in personality, like when Furbies change their mind.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's a little creepy. Like, I'm not a big fan.
That would have been way worse for me as a kid.
Same, I agree.
The actual Furby.
Like, I would have been fascinated with the process, but actually experiencing it, I probably would have been like, Mom, can you put this in the closet? Like,
yeah, I would have been like, I don't
put it
want
up high
this
on the shelf. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And then they further improved on that in 2013, and they released the Furby Boom. And then in 2014, they released Furblings. So these are Furby babies, and they can interact with the Furby Boom, I guess, is like the mother or the parent figure. And in 2016, they released the most recent version, and it's, in my opinion, the most impressive. It's called the Furby Connect. Have you heard of the Furby Connect?
No.
I hadn't either. I had never even seen them, but I don't, I guess, wander toy aisles very often anymore.
Yeah, I don't like explore my Christmas options like that, really.
They no longer change personalities. I guess they realized that that was a little too much.
Yeah.
But apparently you're able to like watch videos and listen to music with your Furby through this app. And you can also hatch and care for virtual Furblings and like build a village for your Furbies.
Seems questionable.
But this version is currently still for sale. So, run, don't walk. Go get your Furby Connect right now. I expect my paycheck, Hasbro. And then there's also like a huge market of, I mentioned earlier, but vintage Furbies, reselling, collecting. And mine personally are long gone, but you clearly still have a Furby. If you listener, if you still have a Furby that's haunting your closet, like check it out. See if somebody wants to give it a new home, because some people are willing to pay top dollar for those vintage Furbies.
Maybe I will sell these 2 that I have.
You should. Or you should at least look into it. Give it a new home. Somebody that will love it more than you have for the past, 2 decades.
More than me at all.
More than you ever.
I don't love these.
And I laughed at this Bustle article because they said, although it's also possible that what made the toy cool also made it kind of creepy. On the one hand, it was almost like it was alive. And on the other hand, it was almost like it was alive. And I think we've touched on this before, but I do think the generations after us, they'll grow up with their own versions of these types of toys.
Yeah.
I've never had one or used one or interacted with one at all. I don't have a lot of kids in my life right now, but Hatchimals were really big for a while. A few years ago, that was like the big Christmas toy. And whatever it is that keeps kids going back to like the uncanny toy pet, it's still happening today, very much is alive in the hearts of children. And we know that Furbies were kind of the original in that space.
Yeah.
And they did seem creepy after a while, but obviously I still have fond memories of playing with my Furby. And I'm hoping that even after a couple of days of researching the creepier side of Furbies, I hope I can still compartmentalize those, because I know me and my sister had a pretty good time with our Furby while it lasted.
Oh, and okay, so speaking of that like mother-child Furby concept.
Yeah.
I do have, in my research, I found this one particular story on Reddit about this kid who had a mom Furby and a baby Furby, which is such a weird concept.
It sounds so scary. I didn't experience that. I had just
we were too old for that.
Yeah.
But apparently, like, this person, and their brothers were like messing around with it, and they dropped it. Mm-hmm. And I think it like died or whatever. I don't know what the baby Furbies did.
Can they do that?
It like never came back on. It just like turned off. And
literally,
just
like the electronics died.
Yeah, it just like stopped working.
Die.
Right.
Okay.
Like the robot itself,
Sure.
the toy stopped working.
Yes.
And the mother Furby, in response to this, made like the same noises it made, and then like also died. So apparently it like died of sadness over like losing this baby Furby that had been like attached to it.
That's horrible. Oh, I hate that.
Apparently they like didn't turn back on.
I
like,
really
I don't
hate
know.
that a lot.
If that's possible, then these guys are making crazy, uncanny valley type, seriously crazy robots.
I mean, those are the new ones, so I guess
that
makes sense.
That's wild to me.
Oh my God.
Well,
thank you. I'm very glad that we that we got to hear. Apparently, Furbies can die of sadness. You heard it here first.
Apparently.
Or second, second to Reddit. I guess that's the end of our Furby talk time.
Thanks for listening to Furby Talk.
And we are closing out 2021 with you with this episode.
Ooh, we've done it.
We've done it. We started with you in October, and we are excited.
Every week since October 2nd.
Yes.
We've done it.
Man, it's been...
somehow.
Yeah, it's been a journey, but we are very pleased and thrilled to, kind of be building this community and... grateful for you listening.
Yeah,
we're so grateful. We know so many of our friends and some people that we've never met before have been, very kind and encouraging and seem to be appreciating what we're doing. So we appreciate you so much. And
for sure,
obviously,
thank you guys.
We do it for ourselves and for the nostalgia to indulge those parts, but it's so nice that there are people that it resonates with. It's always nice to know. It's a very validating
It's nice to know you're
experience.
not alone.
Yes.
Right.
And that's what we're all about over here at That's Pretty Dark.
Yeah.
So from us to you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yeah.
Whatever you're celebrating, I hope that it's lovely. And if it's not, that's okay too, because I understand.
Yeah.
The holidays aren't for everybody, and that's also perfectly fine.
That's true. It's a tough time. A lot of us feel that way.
I hope that your family dinners are bearable.
It's important just to, find whatever makes your holidays worth it. Whether it's ghost stories or
Furbies.
Don't cut the skin off your Furbies. And I don't know. One of the things that helped me out is kind of getting into the roots of the holiday season, especially Christmas in particular. Kind of figuring out like what it was about before it became what we know of as Christmas today.
Sure.
I've always been more of an old world Christmas kind of person.
Kris Kringle or
Yeah, I guess so.
Saint
Just like
Nick.
very natural. I'm more of a purist when it comes to things like that. So I'm more about the origins of stuff, clearly.
if you can't tell.
So I don't know. I mean, the Yuletide season has much more ancient origins than like Christmas per se. It's a bit more. It grounds you a bit more
Yeah.
into the history of the world, and I think it's more.
Yeah, take
You know.
some time this holiday season to learn about something or someone or some culture that's not yours. Just take a second.
Yeah.
Step outside of your
Yeah.
bubble. Like, that's the moral of our story here today.
Something that helps you feel more connected with humanity and the world as a whole. I think it's always really, really.
I think
good.
we're all better off for that.
It's really beneficial.
Here, here.
Absolutely. Cheers, everybody.
And whatever toys are haunting your halls this holiday season,
Ooh.
I hope that they treat you well, and I hope that you treat them well in return.
Yeah. So when all of your kids' toys come to life tonight, just let them be.
Yeah, like you said, leave well enough alone.
Let them scream into the night. Let them sing their song.
What they're meant to do.
That's what they're programmed to do. Cool. Well, thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yeah, have a good one. We will
Have
see
a
you
great
soon.
New Year's. I guess we'll see you
Or,
next week.
You'll hear from us soon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But until then,
Yeah. Stay warm
stay warm.
if you're in a
If
cold,
you're in a cold hemisphere
part of the world.
or place.
All right, guys. Silent night. Quiet. Quiet.
Bye. We'll see you in 2022.
Peace on earth. Goodwill toward men and women
Yeah. Hey.
and everybody.
Every
in
gender. Goodwill to every gender.
Goodwill toward everyone.
Good day.
Good eve.
Thanks for listening to That's Pretty Dark, written and produced by Christian Baxter Mott and Kaylin Andrews.
Our music is composed by Jonathan Simmons, and our art is provided by Paige Garland at Power Girl Illustration.
Join the collective nostalgia and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at That's Pretty Dark Podcast.
Share your experiences and let us know what shows, films, or villains still haunt you from childhood at that'sprettydarkpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, you're never really alone.
So, until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.
Wait a second.